Hi, I'm Cameron, and I don't just read comics, sometimes I watch them too. On today's episode of Cameron Reads Comics, Jesse and I are doing a series review on the latest MCU installment, WandaVision. Throughout this episode, we're going to be referring to our episodes on Avengers Disassembled, House of M, and The Vision, so make sure to go back and check those out. Just a heads up, we are going to be going into full spoilers for WandaVision, so consider yourself warned. Remember to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Cameron Reads Comics, and make sure to clobber the like and subscribe buttons, as well as leave me a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Set 3 weeks after the events of Avengers Endgame, Wanda Maximoff and Vision are living an idyllic suburban life in the town of Westview, New Jersey, trying to conceal their true natures. As they begin to enter new decades and encounter television tropes, the couple suspects that things are not as they seem. Welcome, Jesse, back to a really important episode of Cameron Reads Comics. This is a big one. We were just talking, and I think this is one of the most sought-after episodes because week to week, we just get so many questions. I get so many questions about my thoughts on WandaVision and what's been happening. So now we are going to be here, and we are going to talk about this series because one of them... I'd say within 2020, and obviously we're just at the very beginning of 2021, I think this is one of the most impactful series of television in the last 2 years. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and Marvel Studios hasn't directly made a show. I mean, there's been Marvel shows, but
like kind of nothing on this scale.
That's what I'm saying.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. happened, but I'm like,
nobody knows. For
people that, that's not quite canon. It's canon what you make of it. But yeah. So WandaVision, I guess we've talked about the show at length. If you want to know some of our like mid-season review ideas, we did an episode on a mid-season review for WandaVision. So here we are now. Series ended.
We are going to be spoiling the shit out of WandaVision.
Yeah.
So if you haven't watched, just stop listening to us. Go watch it.
Also,
we'll be here when you're done.
We'll still be here. Can't confirm. You can't, or not you, but like because of the demand and the questions we were getting, we're just going to do now, because of this show, we're doing a weekly Falcon Winter Soldier review recap episode, and then we're going to do that episode for that week will just be the series review too.
Yeah.
So
I think we should.
All right, let's get into it, Jesse. What did you think overall as the show? All the, not all the strings are wrapped up in a pretty bow, but man, like, how are we feeling about, the series as a whole?
I feel good about it. I feel good about the series as a whole. Not as hyped as I was when we did the mid-season review.
Yeah.
It didn't exactly land where I wanted it to, but
yeah,
that doesn't impact what I thought. It's a great show. I mean, they set out to tell this WandaVision story. Mm-hmm. And they did what they set out to do. Whether I was, you know what I think happens is my own theories are our theories, and all of our speculation it drives the hype up. And then when we don't get what we think is going to happen, it comes down a little bit, right?
Yeah, I think
for me
that was
but that's my own fault.
I know it's not your fault. Like, I think that's the problem, and it's not Marvel's fault either. It's no one's fault. But like that's what happens when you have a weekly release date. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, you're 100% right. Because if we're watching a movie, we don't have time to theorize. We're just watching the movie. If we have a full week, you and I are just sitting here like, what the hell is going on, and it's fun to do that. So I don't mind that at all. It builds up, my own thinking, I'm like, this is what's going to happen. And then it doesn't. And I was like, oh, okay. But the series was great, man. I loved it. I really did.
Same. I saw an article and it was like WandaVision fans are disappointed that there were payoffs on things that were there were not payoffs on things that were never promised to us.
Right.
And I really appreciate that, because also one of the biggest strengths in the Marvel Universe is the slow burn, man. It took 20 films to get Cap
Right?
to say, like, Avengers Assemble.
Yeah, totally.
So, and that's not spoilers for Endgame.
No, absolutely not. And you know what? You're right. That's something you would think that would be done in one of the Avengers movies before the 10-year mark.
Yeah,
know?
that was the last scene of Age of Ultron, where he says Avengers, and then he's about to say it, and it cuts.
Right. But I mean, what do you think, man? Did you like it? You loved it, right?
Yeah, I think like I'm like the ramifications and the impact of this show, and I just mean on the medium of television, was so impressive. So I really liked it. I was kind of let down by some arcs. There was some speculation stuff that kind of didn't pan out in the way I wanted it to, but I realized I'm glad we didn't get mutants in this show. I think, and I think the impact of Wanda just finding out, kind of we talked about you and I like separately talked about they went back and changed
The
it.
retconning of her powers. Yeah.
The retcon of her powers, that she had them and the Infinity Stone like enhanced them. So she was technically already a mutant, like her and Pietro. And
For sure.
That was enough for me.
I mean, so they did give us mutants in a way.
Yeah.
And they fixed that whole, I mean, it was just a hole in the story that they either closed or remolded. It was that whole episode on its own was genius.
Yeah.
Showing why she had the show set up like a sitcom, like going back to her family watching those sitcoms was brilliant.
Yeah.
And also retconning that whole thing. I mean, that's what you can do on a show when you're telling it. Like, oh, this episode, we're just going to retcon that whole thing we did with the Mind Stone. Like,
yeah.
Zip.
And
Erase that shit.
Actually, this kind of brings me to my next question. Overall, I was pretty satisfied with the show. You know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily quite want what... Yeah, things are going to play out as they're going to play out, so I kind of don't set expectations. It's fun to speculate, but like, really, we're at the point again where we talked about last episode or last review, where with Marvel, I'm very satisfied in everything I get. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think they're going to steer me wrong. They've definitely earned my trust over these films, and so I'm just like, whatever they give me, like, I know it's well thought out, and I thought that this was seriously well thought out. So it kind of brings me to my next question, which is, this series was really a focus on Wanda, and it kind of really gives a fuller, more complete arc of Wanda's story and her narrative. How did you feel about like kind of the full circle where she gained the title of Scarlet Witch and then she started leaning into chaos magic? Like how did that resonate with you?
Reading all those books, I loved the whole chaos magic. I was hyped. I was like, even before they said chaos magic, I was like, if they bring up chaos magic, I'm gonna lose my shit. And they did. That episode was awesome. I like that they gave her the Scarlet Witch name, and I loved her outfit. It was so fucking cool.
And it was so cool that they gave us the outfit kind of like in the Vision before.
Yes.
We had the yellow flashlight, and then we had the outfit, and everyone's like, what is that, Cameron? And I'm like, that's just a regular costume.
Yeah, I got that question too. I was like, that's her. That's Scarlet Witch. Like, people were like, who was that? I'm like, it was her.
I'm like, guys, look at her Halloween costume.
It was just, it wasn't her in the current time seeing herself. It was her when she was getting her like all so long ago, which she was like still a teenager.
Yeah.
It was her seeing herself as a Scarlet Witch. The only thing that I really have a complaint about is it wrapped up too neatly and Disney-ish for me. Like we had been reading these Wanda stories, and she ends up so broken, right?
Yeah.
And she didn't end up that way in my mind really at all.
Yeah.
Like it was just like, oh, let's all hug. And that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine for fans that, they kind of made it like the story felt good.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. I just wanted I wanted more of a cliffhanger and not the end credit scene. Like, okay.
And yeah, you and I were joking, or like, not joking, but like we were speculating that I was like, oh, I think at the end credit scene, like it's gonna be Doctor Strange saying, Wanda, you need to stop, and that's
the thing, Wanda, you need to stop, because she still has the whole Westview Hex thing going on. Like, I didn't think it was gonna disappear. She got rid of it.
Yeah, and like we kind of got an allusion to that, and that was a oh my gosh, guys, I'm sorry for all my fans who like have Twitter and like don't watch it the day of, or like, you know, I deleted on the last day of the like series finale.
Yeah.
I deleted my Instagram and my Twitter off my phone because I was like, I just don't need it to be spoiled. Like, I don't want to. It's unfortunate that the internet has come to that, because I saw like within my first, you know, I woke up at 8. I saw at 8:30 a Doctor Strange hashtag, and I was like, what the heck, man?
Yeah,
like, I didn't want that.
I saw a Doctor Strange mock-up as well. But that made me think I was going to get Doctor Strange, which didn't make it didn't make watching it worse when I didn't get him. Like, it was fine. But like, that's an easy cameo. And that was the thing, like, all along. Paul Bettany talking about sharing the scene with basically himself was full genius troll. But Elizabeth Olsen talking about there being a Luke Skywalker level cameo, there was not one. And if it was just White Vision, okay, I love that. I love Ghost Vision. I thought it was a great part of the show. But that's not Luke Skywalker. Or is it just that we get Vision back?
I don't know. I don't know how early that interview was, because I just thought the Evan Peters thing was just GOAT all time.
Okay. So I know you're going to ask, you know, probably what my favorite moment was. I don't know if for sure, Pietro showing up.
Honestly, same here. That was the greatest.
But I'm going to say, on the flip side of the coin, the Kyle Boner or Ralph Boner thing, like, it was such a fucking cop out. Like, what the fuck was that, dude? It was lame. It was so lame.
I was going to ask. That was one of my questions. So I guess we go into favorite. Let's just lean into how great that was for a second. Because
the Pietro thing.
Yeah, because the mid-season review.
It was amazing. We lost our shit. That's why we did a mid-season review, because Pietro showed up at the door.
Yes. And like, that was something that I was like, all my everyone who listened to that episode hit me up and they're like, Cameron, you did not nearly talk about that enough. And like, you and I did our own speculation off the air, and that's why I'm like, we just need to do a weekly show, because when we can speculate to our audience and kind of like have those moments, it's extra special. But like, you know, what we thought that opened the door to, and then what it kind of didn't pay off to. I think at the end of the day, I'm okay with it, because
no, you're not.
I am okay with it. I'm not okay. Like, the ending to his arc to really just kind of like.
It was just some dude that lived in Westview that had a headshot that happened to be Evan Peters. Like,
it was a little mean. It was mean, but I'm okay with it, because like, again, I don't need all of those universes to connect, and we are going to be already guaranteed a multiverse. So that that canon is already in your head.
Yeah, I get it. I get that. And it was like they gave you that big surprise, and you were like, oh my God, we all freaked out. But then they just took it away, and he'll never be anything again. That's it. That's all. No more Quicksilver. Pietro's gone, right? He's just, was it Kyle Boner or Ralph Boner?
I think it's Ralph.
Ralph Boner, which is I think it's a Family Ties throwback. The neighbor kid's name was Boner.
Oh, it was Growing Pains.
Growing Pains, right? Which is, yeah. Was it
I just remember,
Pains?
Yeah, in my health class, Boner
it was
and what's his face, like Mike went to some party and they
Kirk
got offered
Cameron.
cocaine.
Oh, wow.
That was in my health class, and they were like, this is what's going to happen. And
that was an episode?
It really was.
Wow, man. The 80s were wild.
So that's, yeah.
But anyways, man,
he's
gone. That's it. He's just a boner.
The hype was real,
Boner
but then
killer.
the payoff was not.
Weak. It was so weak.
I liked it. It's fun, because I'm also like, I don't think the X-Men universe is perfect. The Fox X-Men universe is perfect. You know, I think it kind of just goes down the middle of like, either it's a stinker or it's good.
It sucks.
I'm like, it doesn't suck.
It sucks.
But they didn't finish strong. You know what I mean? Those last two movies were just kind of sad. And I haven't seen New Mutants, so for those that want to know my thoughts on that, I just haven't seen it.
Neither have I.
I'm not in a rush to see it either. But with that, like, I think that the nod to it was very satisfying and enough for me. You know, they recognize that, you know, we have the rights to these movies, but they also happened, and that was kind of fun. And for Ralph's, like, the way he used his super speed was very fun. That's what I liked about it.
Yeah. Hated it.
I do think the ending was not satisfying at all.
It wasn't. And you know, I do agree with you that, like, I don't know, I'm agreeing with you. Maybe you didn't even really say it. I'm glad that like he won't be a part of it. Like they're
Yeah.
not going to use. I didn't want them to use all those actors.
Yeah,
I wanted them to make him new. Let's bring him in fresh and like MCU do their own thing with the mutants. But I don't know. That was like it was such a like cool thing that was just such a letdown with just the explanation of what he was.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. The other thing, okay, if we're going to just kind of go into... I only had 2 letdowns for the entire series, which honestly shapes it up to be a great series. Mm-hmm. The other arc that didn't pay off quite as what I wanted to was the sword leader guy.
Yeah.
I was kind of like... They're like, here's how we're going to solve this dilemma. We're going to hit him, like, we're going to car crash. Darcy's going to car crash into him. And I'm like, okay.
I forgot about Darcy, too. And it was kind of... for me to forget about her... was like, I think, a little bit of a misstep as well. Because I was like, oh, yeah, Darcy's still in the Hex driving the ice cream truck.
Yeah.
I liked that she showed up and she was like, hey, and then, you ain't going nowhere. Or whatever she said.
The one thing where they're like, Darcy said, like, you know, was it the questioning after is for chumps or something?
Yeah.
Like,
and you were right. Agatha was the main villain.
That is my
wrong.
actually probably even on par or just a hair under it because the Quicksilver thing was a big deal. On par with that. That was okay, so for the fans, I had to cut that whole part out because I had an old computer and all the audio got messed up for the last 15 minutes of our WandaVision. I don't know if it was review or our Vision review when we're talking about what we expected for the show.
Mm-hmm.
I called it from the very beginning that Catherine Hahn Agnes was Agatha Harkness. And so she was...
I can verify that. He did call that.
I have been preaching that, and I'm like, I think that is just the most perfect casting. And so that arc, even her... okay, let's go.
I loved her.
What'd you think about her as a villain?
I loved her as a character.
Yeah.
What's her name? What's the actress's name?
Catherine Hahn.
Catherine Hahn is fantastic. I love her in everything that she does. She's great. She was great as Agnes. She was great as Agatha. I was wrong. I thought at some point she was not going to be the main villain. I thought Sword Guy was going to be a little bit more...
Yeah.
I mean, he was a dick, but he wasn't a really villain, right?
You were not the first person to say that you didn't think she was going to be the full villain.
And while the last episode, she was definitely the main villain. I mean, they were fighting. Yeah. I still think that her intentions, and they left the door open for her to not be the villain. Oh, yeah. Right?
She is definitely coming back.
Yeah, she's going to come back because at some point, she's going to mentor Wanda, just like she does in the books, because Wanda took her rune thing, and you know the rune thing was going to happen when she was like, oh, only the witches who cast the runes can use their magic, right?
I didn't see that coming. Because you see the fight scene and she's firing at the walls, and I'm just like, well, I was like, okay, Wanda, like, you're missing. And then it's like, boom, the runes come up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was the most brilliant callback ever.
Yeah, but I mean, I saw it. With her telling that, like, of course she's going to use it at some point, because that was almost like her mentoring her just for that tiny little second that they had in the basement. But I loved her as a character. She's great, man. I love her.
Yeah, I thought... Especially, too, because we read Vision, and that's very much just, like, the white picket fence lifestyle, and I'm a huge Sam Mendes fan, and, like, in Revolutionary Road, which is, I think, one of the movies I compare that story to, she plays David Harbour's wife, who's, like, trying to have it all together and, like, trying to portray the perfect American lifestyle. But then she, like, just, like, sobs to herself every night because she's just so dissatisfied in her marriage, and I was like, oh, my gosh, her just being a nosy neighbor in this show that's kind of like nodding to that kind of lifestyle, I just loved. And obviously that's not where her arc took her, but like I just think her chops for acting are so great. Like Hannah and I always joke about Sam Rockwell. I think for supporting actresses, she is my like Sam Rockwell. I just think she's great in everything.
She is. And it's funny because the last 5 years or so, she's been in a lot of like comedies.
Yeah.
So you forget that when you see her in something serious that she can carry that role as well, because you're so used to seeing, like the Step Brothers like version of her. Because she's in quite a few movies where she's just hilarious.
Yeah, and she was an SNL cast member. So it's like...
Oh, shit, she was?
I'm pretty sure.
It was the years that I didn't watch. I mean, I like SNL, but I don't remember her on it.
Yeah, no, I'm 99% sure
no,
she's
yeah,
a cast member.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can see that. There was years that the show wasn't good and I stopped watching.
That's so funny.
You know what I mean? It depends on the cast, right? Like,
yeah.
But I thought her whole witch look too, with her black hands and everything at the end, like her fingers were all black and she was all witchy and
It makes me laugh. It doesn't say she was on it, so maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're probably wrong.
Oh
What makes you laugh?
It makes me laugh that people didn't want people. My girlfriend's group chat in for school would go off like after every Friday, after every episode.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Oh, I don't know if Agatha's the bad guy. She hasn't done anything so bad." And I was like, "She kidnapped the children."
Yeah. What show are you watching?
Yeah, they're like, "I don't know," and I'm like, the entire episode 8 where she's kind of manipulating Wanda, and I'm like taking her through the deepest tragedies of her life, and I'm like, yeah, like she's also trying to like steal her magic. I think that what do you think her main motivation was? Do you think it was trying to harness her abilities or like figure out what's going on?
I think she was trying to figure out how she was doing what she was doing for sure, and why she was able to wield the magic that she wasn't trained to use properly, right?
Yeah.
And how she was doing it. But yeah, she wanted to steal it, but she was more curious, I think, than even when they're fighting at the end, and she's telling her like, you can't you can't have these powers because you can't handle it, which is almost like the Doctor Strange, like, chaos magic, like it's not a thing,
Yeah, and I like the chaos magic they're using is like, we can tell like that is entirely different from Doctor Strange's like wheelhouse, like, and they were nodding into the Sorcerer Supreme, like,
yeah, that's all we got. That was the only thing we got for Doctor Strange. Is she mentioned you can't like she says
your power like matches that of the Sorcerer
or
Supreme.
It's stronger or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. I was like, oh, yeah, Doctor Strange that's all we're gonna get is her mentioning him. Fuck.
And then we got the astral projection, which is cool.
The what?
The astral projection. That
Of
was
what?
Her Wanda. At the very end, it was the post-credit scene.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yes, I was thinking like during the fight of like I thought you meant like Doctor Strange astral projection. Yeah, where she's goofing off at the end. She's just goofing.
Yeah, she was. She was straight goofball.
Just having some coffee in her socks and just sitting out on the cabin.
It brings me back to actually something you said earlier that you mentioned with her, like you kind of wanted to see her end up being like more of a fraction of a human being.
Right.
I mean, just like really like shattered. But I think that they tried to lean into like we got that already. That's where the show began. I think that's what the power and the strength of episode 8 was, because it's like, because all of this is happening, the death of Vision and so many other like, Quicksilver, all those things are happening kind of in their small beats within the Avengers narrative. And so it's not like we could spend time with that character and kind of see her mourning. And so I think we kind of got that. That's what I loved about episode 8. You remember we got Agnes's reasons, and we kind of like, they made us watch Wanda's tragic background. Like, how did you feel about her? Did you want more of like her sorrow? Did you want her to be like way more grieving, or did you want?
No. I mean, she was clearly grieving, and some of the scenes that I think that was episode 8 where they're sitting on the bed, her and Vision, like that was so like great and beautiful.
Oh my
like
gosh.
Vision's always so like sentimental and like just like for not being human, like just nailing
Humanity.
Yeah, humanity. I didn't want her to be more broken, but the stories that we've been reading of her, she is more broken, like big time.
Yeah.
I mean, she kills a lot of the Avengers.
Yeah. They're gnarly ramifications.
And then in House of M, she realizes that she kills some of the Avengers, and that makes her even more broken. So I guess I was comparing it to the books too much and wanting more of that, like her. That I just thought that they were going to lean into that world more, and it's fine. It didn't hurt the show at the end. I liked the show.
Yeah, how did you feel about her power levels within this show? Because we saw, in House of M, she alters a globe.
Yeah.
But for this one, she alters a city, and I'm kind of okay with those stakes.
Yeah, I'm okay with those stakes. And then finally, I think, we've been ranking the Avengers power levels, who's strongest, right? I'm always bitching that Vision and Wanda aren't, especially Vision, isn't shown strong enough. Clearly, they showed her strength. If you've been paying attention, you know that. She's gonna murk anybody's. But
I'm like, yeah, there's still time for Avengers to die. But anyways,
there is. But I don't feel like they're gonna go back into. I
sure hope not.
Like the Multiverse of Madness you know, the Doctor Strange movie. I didn't realize that movie's still like 2 years off or something like that.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's more time. Like, there's other stuff coming out right now.
And I'm super hyped. I just don't think that my thought was they're going to go into Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, and it was still going to be kind of based off of like Avengers Disassembled or House of M. I don't think that they're going to go in that direction anymore. So I was wrong for sure. I thought that was going to be like the next arc, but no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it was just, it's hard to, I like that we spent time with this character, and I think even with her just altering a city, it kind of leans into her biggest fear anyways. Like,
What's that?
Not being in control of her powers and being a weapon. Also, you know what I realized too? Sword is called Sentient Weapon. That is founded because freaking Carol Danvers is a sentient weapon.
Yeah, but it's not sentient weapon in the comic book.
Yeah, no, but I just mean like for the sake of the movies. I'm like, and Maria Rambeau. I just watched Captain Marvel last night.
Yeah,
Maria Rambeau.
Yeah,
is the founder of it, and it's called Sentient Weapon. That's because her friend was literally became she could blast photons out of her hands. And whatever, you know. And
I thought that the sword set up with the sentient weapon, and we talked about it on one of the episodes that we did. I thought that they were talking about Wanda and her powers as the weapon, which they weren't. It was Vision, which makes so much sense. Totally. I was like, oh, yep, you're right. And you're right. Yeah.
It just, honestly, this show kind of really showed how thoughtful Marvel is. And I'm like, that's one of the biggest strengths within this entire universe that we have, is like they're just so thoughtful in every decision they're making. And I'm a huge fan of their process.
Yeah. I feel like Kevin Feige is just like laughing today at all of us, like speculating so hard though. He's like, I didn't give you shit. Pietro ain't nothing, boy. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And
he does a great job. They do a great job. I'm glad. I mean, I don't think we talked about it. I thought that we were going to get like Ian McKellen Magneto or like Charles Xavier. You know, I fully thought that was going to happen, and I'm kind of glad that we didn't.
Yeah, same here. We said it off the cuff, and we were like, because so what's the timeline of events? Elizabeth Olsen came out in an interview that said there's a Luke Skywalker level cameo.
Yes, and I don't remember if that was before Evan Peters showed up or after. I don't remember. And then Paul Bettany said that he
there's an actor he always wanted to work with.
Right, and they shared the scene together. They shared a scene together, and it was fireworks. It was amazing.
Yeah,
the dude was talking about himself, that's what we realized, dude. That we realized he was talking like just trolling.
Yeah,
and that seems like a thing he would do. He seems like a cheeky fella, right?
Yeah, exactly. It would be totally like the most coy move in the world, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I love that kind of stuff, that we were trolled that bad.
But let's talk about that him sharing that scene with himself. I mean, how did you feel about Ghost Vision? Are we calling him Ghost Vision? Are we what is he technically right? He's White Vision,
Ghost Vision,
right? I like calling him Ghost Vision.
Yeah, he looks cool.
He looks cool.
And you know, it kind of is Ghost Vision because he's the shell of Vision after he dies.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think first and foremost, that costume was so freaking cool, and like the formal like Ghost Vision, like I think they the power that they gave him at the top of his head, I think that's arc reactor technology. I think that's kind of what was happening there.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at the shape compared to other Iron Man suits, like, it's very similar. Or
right.
Other arc reactor tech, it's very similar. So that's an illusion there. The most special thing about Vision talking to himself was that you and I were having a separate conversation, not even comic book related, and I brought up the ship of Theseus.
Oh, yes.
The example. And so when they were talking, like, and I mean like 2 weeks ago, like recently.
We were talking about this, and it was funny. You and Jimmy were having a conversation, and I walked into it.
Yeah,
but we talked about it for a long enough time to where we all were like, we don't want to think about this anymore. My head hurts.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm like, this is a fun conversation topic, but there's no answers. You know what I mean?
And Vision fully answers it.
I think he's right. They're both in there neither, because the Rot isn't the ship, and then the new boards aren't the ship either.
Right.
Which I'm like, that's brilliant.
So he said that there are two different things that are the same.
Mm-hmm. And so I guess the most impactful part was I think Vision's arc in this story. He was a little underserved, but it's also, he was a projection. He was like a memory the whole time.
I don't think that he was underserved. I mean, I really felt like this was Wanda's story.
And I'm glad with that. Like, I just really love Vision. So I'm like anything we can get. And I think Paul Paul Bettany's the most charismatic, charming, so I wanted the maximum screen time with him.
I mean, you got him back.
You're right, and we got him back now.
And do you think so? I was always, when Shuri like downloaded his consciousness, which she definitely did. Go back and watch those movies. She definitely did. I think that they did that like as like a just in case.
Yeah.
I think that was before that they had this show planned, right?
Yeah.
So I think that Shuri thing was like, just in case we need Vision to come back this way, we're gonna, because it was only a second, you miss it, right? And then they did it this way, and at that, we don't need that anymore because Vision gave Ghost Vision his memories back.
Wanda gave Ghost Vision his memories back. Because
oh, you're right. Jeez, I didn't think about that.
Because like he was the existing part of the, and that all makes sense. He's like, where'd I come from? And she's like, you were the part of the Mind Stone that stayed with me. And I was like, oh my gosh, number one, that's beautiful. And then number two is like he was able to give that new consciousness to himself. But like House of M that we were talking about, or I think it was in the Vision. There's just go listen to those episodes, by the way. But I'm like, if you've already listened to the other three that we talked about, to go listen to those. Go listen to those. I'm like, we mention it all the time. But with Ghost Vision, I think it's gonna be like that scene in Tom King's Vision where he is not himself. Like he says, "Oh, I'm not your father" to the sons,
right.
or he's like, I'm not who you remember me as. And I think that is going to lead to further plots down the road. I think that's actually what's going to happen. I don't think he has some of the consciousness, but like, if it was true Vision, he would have stayed and fought Sword and Agatha, but he didn't.
Yeah.
I think he needed to go discover things.
Yeah.
And so
it was too much. He was like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah. And so I think that's what I think that's the next move.
Did you like that fight between them two?
Yes, it was beautiful and it was cool. And I think I sent you a frame that it resembled Vision's fight with Ultron.
Yeah, it was the same when they were hovering in the room talking. There was a lot of memes that was, as he grabbed Vision's like Mind Stone to rip it out, right? He phased.
Yeah.
People were like, why didn't you do that the first time? Like, why didn't you do that when Thanos grabbed your ass? But they mentioned it at some point. He got stabbed by the alien and he couldn't phase.
It broke him.
Yeah.
Oh my, it's so thoughtful. I haven't noticed any of that. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, a lot of people were like, "Hey, why didn't you do that when Thanos grabbed you?" Well, he was hurt and he couldn't phase. But that was awesome. They were phasing back and forth, and it was just super cool.
It was, that fight was excellent.
It was honestly, it was one of the. I mean, Vision doesn't have too many, screen fights where it lets him showcase his power, and I was glad that we got to see a little bit of like what he can do because he's super powerful.
Yeah, exactly. And like to see, I think the new Vision costume is so freaking cool. And I think, maybe I'm losing my mind, but I feel like as he continues, I think that he'll gain more colors. Like, remember when he just like willed, like he projected his cape onto himself after seeing Thor, like in Ultron?
Yeah.
He didn't have a cape before. I think that he's going to project himself to have color.
Yeah, but I think he's going to rock as that white for a little while.
I'm okay. Yeah, like a movie or two. I'm okay with that. That sounds awesome. Yeah. Maybe Avengers AI, which is like an artificial robot Avengers team. Maybe. I thought I heard that James Spader was cast in this movie or in this series, and then we never saw him at all.
Well, he would have been Ultron, obviously.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I was just surprised. I don't
remember. Yeah, I don't remember.
I thought I heard that. I didn't check the IMDb page, but that's what I get. When it comes down to the format of the series, because that was so interesting and it was so unique. How did you feel? Or what was your favorite sitcom style that they leaned into of those episodes? Well, which one was your favorite?
Oh, I did not like the first go. The first couple episodes, like we talked about before, super cringy for me.
Yeah.
I didn't dig it. I've come to love them, like on rewatching it now that I know like what those meant to her.
Yeah.
Like it makes it better. But at first I was like, God, this is stupid.
Oh my gosh. After episode 8, oh.
Yeah, it was great. I think probably the Malcolm in the Middle, or the like Office, Modern Family, the newer ones.
Yeah.
Were cool I liked them a lot. I liked this a lot.
I think my favorite one was the Malcolm in the Middle one because I just was a huge Malcolm in the Middle fan when I was a kid, and like they leaned all the way into it. And then in that same episode, we got the allusions to their actual comic book costumes.
Yeah.
Through the Halloween gear, I absolutely adored, and because of that, that's because of them showing that, and then them showing Catherine Hahn as a witch in that. like in her Halloween costume, that's when I knew. I was like, oh yeah, she's 100%.
But you already knew it, dude. Kudos to you for figuring that one out.
That's just the greatest
Good
pride
on
of my
you.
life.
Yeah.
The sword guy, that was a mystery. Also, wait, just another weird side note. The child actress who's in Captain Marvel, who plays Monica,
Yeah.
and then Tiana Paris, who actually plays her in the series.
Right.
The likeness is incredible.
I got to go back and watch Captain Marvel.
It's honestly a better. It's one of, I don't know. The more times I watch it, the more times I like it. I think it's a pretty good flick. Okay, so that was your favorite sitcom style.
I mean, should we like fill everybody in on the whole photon thing? I feel like people aren't really like, you know, it shows that she's got her powers and she like takes some bullets and you're like, what is happening, right? Like she's Photon. That's her character in the comics.
Yeah. So the way I describe her, Photon is. So honestly, you know, I don't want to be mean. I'm not trying to be sexist. I just think this is how I see it. I think Captain Marvel is a B-list hero. I just think that she's not the most popular, but the fans that really love her love her. I really love Captain Marvel. Photon is a C-list character, so to the point where I've never read a comic with Photon in it, so there's not much I could tell you about her.
Yeah, and we had this conversation last time. I was saying that at a certain extent, Wanda's a B-list character as well.
Oh yeah, I'd say Wanda and Vision are definitely B-list characters. Because it's like, you think the A-list, there's the holy trinity of the Avengers, which are Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor. Like in every staple Avengers team, they're pretty much there. Yeah. So, you know, except for like the new Avengers, but it's a new Avengers team. So I think that with them, that's one of the key details in that, or like within Photon. So I'm like, that's. I guess we never even told them who Photon is.
Yeah, that's why I feel like you got a lot of listeners that might want answers that we're not giving them on certain things. You know what I mean?
Okay, so Maria, it was Carol's friend, and Photon pretty much is actually the first person before Carol Danvers. Carol Danvers in the comics was Ms. Marvel. There was a green dude who was from the planet Hala, who is home of the Kree race. So remembering Captain Marvel, the Kree and the Skrulls are at war. One of the leaders of the Kree is actually, he's named Mar-Vell, M-A-R-V-E-L-L, and that was the first Captain Marvel. But he comes on Earth, becomes a hero, has a cool color scheme, whatever, saves the world. He dies of cancer in a very famous story called The Death of Captain Marvel. During this time, Carol Danvers in the 70s had come up as Ms. Marvel, so just like, you know, Batgirl, for all intents and purposes.
Sure.
She is... Actually, I guess at some point in the comics when Monica comes out, because Monica had a big afro in the comics too. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the Photon costume and then you look at the sword costume that she has, you can see the sword influence on the Photon costume.
Yeah, gotcha.
Or the other way around. And she is the first person to actually post Captain Marvel or Mar-Vell. She is the first person to ever become Captain Marvel.
Photon is.
Yes.
Okay.
Monica. And so that's something I knew about that. But then it's really when the Kelly Sue DeConnick run happens that Carol stops being Ms. Marvel and she becomes official Captain Marvel as we know her, as like Brie Larson in that full appearance. And so that's really about as much as I know about Monica.
Yeah.
She is cool. I think her powers are going to be very similar to Carol's. I don't know where they come from.
Who knows where they came from in the comic book, but they came from Wanda and the Hex in the show. Yes,
and yeah, how did you feel about that? How did you feel about the Hex having abilities to alter the things around it?
I felt good where it went to give her those powers. For a second, I was like, "Oh, this is how they're going to explain mutants." And that didn't sit well with me because the whole thing with the mutants and the whole reason that they wrote them was because mutants are born with that and they can't change who they are.
Yeah, they can't control it.
So for a second, I'm like, man, if they explain mutants with the Hex, like that is going to be a humongous misstep, which they didn't. It's fine. Yeah. So I felt good where it went. Also, I was telling you that I saw a tweet, and this is great. This isn't canon, but I'm going to think that it's canon. So Monica's mom dies of cancer while she's gone, right? And so people were saying when Miss Marvel, when Carol shows back up in Endgame and she's got the short hair, which is a look that she has in the comic books. I mean, she definitely has a short hair, which was a nod to that. But people were saying, let's just pretend like the reason that Carol has short hair was because Monica's mom, what's her name?
Maria.
Maria was going through chemo. And so as a show, like a sign of like, you know, trying to help her friend when she was going through chemo and had to shave her head, that Miss Marvel actually shaved her head as well to show her that, she didn't have to go through it alone. Which is like, I don't, whether that's actual canon or not, like it's probably not, but let's pretend it is because it's so sweet.
That's a wholesome, yeah.
Isn't it?
And Maria is actually, upon rewatching, I highly recommend watch Captain Marvel. Maria is such a great character and she's so sweet. Like,
yeah.
She didn't go on a life endangering mission because she wanted to make sure her daughter was safe, which is like, oh, I love that.
Yeah, totally.
And then also, it made me realize as you were saying that, Marvel died of cancer. That is a nod to.
Yeah, true.
I think makes sense. I think Marvel is that thoughtful.
Yeah.
That would be a nod.
They totally are.
To that. And
every little thing that they do is not. To be honest with you, I think that they put in so many little Easter eggs. Like they were fully fucking trolling us.
Oh yeah.
Like with all the little like Mephisto or Nightmare innuendos, like there was so many. They were doing it just to mess with everybody.
I think Nightmare is going to be the villain of the Doctor Strange movie. I think that's what's gonna. I think Doctor Strange. We might have said this, or I've said this to you, but Doctor Strange, I believe, is going to be a trilogy, and then the third movie will be Mordo. But the second one, I think, is going to be Nightmare.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
There's a lot of. Did you look into any of the stuff surrounding the book that Wanda ended up with, or she was reading at the end? Because I didn't understand any of that.
Yes, that was the book that was missing from the library in Doctor Strange, and I looked it up, and it's like the book of Chahuth.
Oh yes,
and he's kind of like your Dormammu, like world eater, right?
Yeah,
he's like older than the universe, and I believe he's trapped in the book. I think he's trapped in that book, and there's a newer Scarlet Witch run, which you might have. No, I don't think you have it.
I'm buying it. It's the James Robinson Scarlet Witch run.
I think that's the story with him and her, where she actually lets him out. You know what I mean? And in that storyline, it shows that like Magneto's not her father. She comes from a long line of other Scarlet Witches. Like her mom was a Scarlet Witch and her grandma was a Scarlet Witch, and it's kind of like a new take on her story. But
did we talk about how you see her? Like, do you see her as an X-Men character or an Avenger?
Yeah, you asked me that before, and reading the X-Men books when I was younger, I thought of her as an X character.
Yeah.
But now reading more source material that you've given me, she's more of an Avenger character.
Yeah, I don't know. Sure. Because I read X-Men, but I don't read that much X-Men. But even in the X-Men I read, she rarely, if ever, pops up.
Right, yeah.
So I'm a huge fan of her. Did this change how you did the series at all, or like on the stories we've read? How do you feel about Wanda now, based on like have any of your thoughts changed?
As far as her in the MCU,
like just how you see her as a character. Yeah, her in the MCU or her as a character. Like is she more favorable? Because I'm like, if anything, I think I kind of walked out liking Wanda so much more.
Yeah, she. I don't think that she was ever done too much service in those movies. So giving her own series and like so much screen time and like fleshing out everything and just kind of giving her like room to like work within the character as an actress, I thought, I like her a lot better. And Vision too. And Vision as well. He's awesome.
Oh my gosh. And I just don't know.
He cries at the end. He can't cry. He
Robot
can't even cry.
Robot
can't cry, man.
It was beautiful.
Avery was bawling her eyes out.
Oh my gosh.
First the kids get phased down. She was like, oh my God. And then that happened. I was like, Avery, you're going to have to take it down a couple notches because I'm trying to watch this. Like you're like, stop crying.
Actually, oh my gosh. Now I think about it, the finale is the only episode I didn't watch twice. I'll probably watch it again though.
Yeah, I watched it twice because I felt like I needed, I did not, it didn't.
Because Avery was bawling.
Avery's bawling. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I didn't like it at first.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was very like, I was so hyped, and then it was just like, oh, okay.
And I feel bad for the director, Matt Shakman, because I feel like there's so much, remember we had so much time to like anticipate what's going to happen. Oh, mutants, he's going to say no more mutants, hex the whole world, whatever. Galactus is going to come.
Yeah, and Galactus is going to come. Holy shit.
They're going to resolve that in an hour.
Yeah.
And so I feel bad for the pressure that was put on him, but otherwise I think I was like pretty much left mostly satisfied.
Yeah, I was too. Like I said, upon second viewing, like it was like, okay, a little bit happier there. No cliffhanger, but okay. I got it.
Yeah, I got two more questions for you. First and foremost, I think since you told me your answer has changed, but what do you rate this series out of 10?
No, I know that I told you that, and that was after the first viewing, but I think that it stands pretty much true. I think that it's a 7.
Yeah, it's a solid 7.
It's a very solid 7. Yeah, I think Marvel did a great job with their first show, and I thought that there was episodes that were close to 10s.
Yeah.
Definitely 9s in there, but there was also a couple that were like 6s and like 5s. Like the first couple episodes, I didn't really dig. You know, like it didn't get
first
there.
Two. Wait. So I know you didn't like the first 2. The finale wasn't everything.
I didn't
you
like
wanted
the
it to
first
be.
2, and the finale fell flat for me.
Okay, so 3 out of 9. Yeah, no, that'd be like a 66%. So
Yeah.
round up that 7.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. I'd give it a little bit higher. Honestly, I think I'd give it like an 8.7.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just think it's very close to a 9, maybe an 8.8. I just think it's very close to a 9 because I like the exploration into TV and then the justification they gave us as to why that, you know, why they even chose the kind of series that they modeled them after. You know, like that whole arc in that episode was like so beautiful. And then she loved Malcolm in the Middle, and then Vision. That moment when Vision comes into her room, and it's like, you know, what is pain if not love persevering? And
That was such a great line.
Most perfect line, and also I just absolutely love. I don't know where this started, but they started dressing Vision like he dresses like, you know, almost pretty much like Dick Van Dyke in his casual wear. When he's a robot, but you'll see him wearing a turtleneck sweater, or you'll see him wearing a collared shirt, and he'll like tuck in his pants into trousers and try and like be human. And obviously his voice is the most dreamy thing, but it's like, oh, I'm in love with the robot too.
I can want some robot dick.
I'm like, you know, they had kids. If she could make kids, I could make kids with Vision. I gladly would. I'd get a dog named Sparky. It's fine. But him coming in and just being like that human to her, because it also reminds me of the scene in Civil War when he's trying to make like whatever that soup was for her.
Oh yeah,
and I'm like,
whatever that goulash was.
Yeah, it was like goulash or something. And he's like a paprikash. That's what it was. And so I was like, man, I just freaking love him. And I can see. I didn't know if they gave us enough reasons on like why they were actually in love, or why they were together. I think that series and those moments gave us those. And I really like the time they spent with that.
Yeah, me too. I do not disagree with that.
And so then, that's why I give it that rating. And then all the cool TV stuff they did that like I needed to watch twice, like all the way they used commercial breaks and, you know, the color within the black and white world. I was like, wow, these are like so neat. And I just thought, so fun.
I just wish I just wish it not made more sense. I just wish like upon initial viewing that, you know, you got those references or like it all made more cohesive sense. Like, you know, you can watch the series twice and this series will be better the second time you watch it.
Yeah. And I think that's how we need this perspective that we have learned from this series is what we need to take into every Disney Plus series is that we can't be looking at it episodically. We need to look at the entire narrative.
Yeah. And I'm excited to do, you know, episodic Falcon and the Winter Soldiers. And I'm also really excited for that series because I don't have any theories.
Yeah, that was my next question was what are your expectations?
My expectations for that show, they said it's going to be way more action Marvel, you know.
Our traditional bread and butter.
And I can't wait because I had all these theories, Magneto, Xavier, mutants, hell, what X-Men is going to show up. I don't expect any of that out of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And if they give me some things that I'm not expecting, that's gonna be great. I'm gonna be super hyped, and we're gonna talk about it. But I'm just more hyped to watch with like just as a fan, really, you know.
Yeah, I think what I'm most excited for that show is like number one, all the fans love the dynamic between Bucky and Sam. I think. Yeah. It's going to be a show about legacy, which I'm very excited for them to lean into and like tradition within the Marvel universe. I just think it's going to be so good. It's going to be, and like they don't, you know, all the trailers are leaning into their dynamic of not liking to work together.
Yeah.
I think all the Falcon flight sequences and all the movies have been sick. And so, you know, whatever, like let's just say we're going to get a total 30 minutes of that throughout the 8-episode season. Gladly going to take that in. And then Zemo's my freaking favorite.
I'm
MCU.
so glad they gave him the beanie too, right? Or like the
yeah.
whatever you want to call
the
it.
Purple mask.
Yeah, the baklava thing, whatever.
The paprikage on his face.
Yeah, whatever. So in some of the trailers, like you see Sam throwing the shield.
Yeah.
You know, how are they? I mean, the reason the Cap could do that is because he's like a super soldier, right? He's throwing that thing around and it's like bouncing and always coming back to him.
I don't think Sam's gonna be able to do that.
He can't, right? And like, are they gonna make like he can't? I mean, it can't. You know,
as this, I know Bucky can.
Bucky can because he's a super soldier.
Yeah. With Sam, I don't know. You know what? The reasons I think he can do it are because
Okay, hold on. Okay, you explain this, but I just thought of something.
Vibranium's super I think it's lightweight. You know, to the point where where freaking Black Panther can wear it. And so, but also that shield it's perfectly balanced. Do you know what I mean? It's like the way it. I don't want for no other. The physics and the acoustics work. You know, when he beats it on a drum. You know,
the acoustics of the shield.
When he throws it, it's like. Obviously a frisbee, and so I think he's able to kind of use that. It's not quite strength as much as it is like the balance.
That makes
of
sense.
The shield.
When you just said it's like a frisbee, like there you go. Okay, I'm gonna start theorizing.
But yeah, okay. Now what are you theorizing?
Like that show's gonna have Sam kind of have a run as Captain America, right?
Yeah.
And then it's gonna end with Bucky becoming Captain America.
Oh, really? I don't think so.
No,
I think
because
they're both
I think one of them's got to be. There has to be a Cap at some point, though. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Falcon Cap. I think that's where
it will be for sure in the show. I think.
Who?
Falcon.
Oh yeah, I think.
But I'm just saying, hey, it could end up being Bucky. I think that makes more sense.
I think Bucky's going to lean into the. I think, you know, okay, so remember our biggest qualm with Rise of Skywalker? Where Rey changed her last name. One of the biggest qualms. Okay, so the ending of Rey, where they're like, what's your last name or whatever, who are you?
Yeah.
She's like, Rey Skywalker.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you should own that you're a Palpatine and change your name. You know what I mean? Like, give that new meaning. I think Bucky's going to do that with the Winter Soldier moniker. Or maybe he'll just be the freaking White Wolf the whole time, you know?
Oh, I forgot about the White Wolf.
I don't even know if that's this is, guys, okay, now you're starting to see where my Marvel knowledge is limited because I just don't even know who the White Wolf is. I don't know if that was the title for the movie or that's like an actual thing.
No, the White Wolf is part of the comics. He was actually T'Challa's brother. He became like his brother.
Oh,
but
cool.
he was living and helping the Wakandans fight whatever stuff that they were going through. So he
was that during, I feel like
he became a big part of the Black Panther storyline. It was,
great.
T'Challa and his brother, the White Wolf, because he's obviously, he's white.
There's the Black Panther and the White Wolf.
Yeah.
Little on the nose, Marvel. But
yeah. Bingo. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah, so I think that's what's going to happen there. Okay.
But is the Winter Soldier, I mean, they've never shown that to be like a negative thing.
Yeah, they have. He was the villain of Captain America 2.
No, I know.
Okay.
But like, it's not like you're the Winter Soldier. Like you're Thanos.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of the nature of that narrative is that he wasn't quite the villain. But I don't know, like, how's this? He's not proud of what he did as the Winter Soldier.
Fuck no.
And that's what I mean, and that's why it's the bad thing.
He killed Tony's family.
Oh my gosh, I loved that. That's my favorite movie still to this day. Okay, wait. Okay, one last
Okay,
question.
we can be here all
Where
day.
does this show WandaVision rank amongst like your other MCU properties? Like, okay, I'm sure you have a ranking in your head, and we don't need to go through the full ranking.
Yeah, there's too many movies.
But like, where does it sit?
It's in. You mean like, is it in the top 10?
Yes.
Sure.
We're in the top 10. Obviously,
God,
you're like top 3.
Now I got see if I can't say top 3 because I gave it a 7.
You gave it a 7.
I can't be like, oh, top 3. It's a 7,
but
boy.
7's for the standard. Like, for the standard. You know what I mean? Like it's very fulfilling content. Like, okay, I think another 7 would be like Captain Marvel. Like, it's a good overall movie.
Yeah.
Is it above or below Captain Marvel?
It is above Captain Marvel.
Is it above or below Ultron?
Oh, it's above Ultron.
Is Captain Marvel above Ultron?
Yes.
Okay, that's probably like one, like the boom boom. And then, okay, where does it sit behind Thor number 1?
Oh.
Not Thor number 3.
No, because I love that one so
Yeah.
much. It was better than Thor 1.
Okay.
Yeah, it
So
was.
that's
and definitely better than Thor 2.
So I'm gonna give that for you. That's gonna be like 7 or 8 territory,
yeah.
like within that 10.
Yeah, sure.
For me, I'd probably put it around the same area.
Yeah.
You know, that could be a fun episode, or a 2-parter is our definitive ranking of the Marvel films as of. We can do that post Winter Soldier. That'd be fun.
I looked at the like upcoming schedule too. It wasn't what I thought. I was like, oh, these are the movies that are coming out this year. It's Black Widow.
Eternals.
No, Shang-Chi.
Eternals is coming out before
I know.
Shang-Chi.
No, it's not. They got pushed to like November. It's Black Widow. I just saw it. Black
You're
Widow,
right.
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi's July?
Yeah, Eternals, and then Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man's September. Oh my gosh, that's 4 movies in a year. I love
That's
this.
4 movies in like the next 6 months.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I gotta go look that up and then update our schedule. And then our schedule's already thrown off because I thought that only 2 episodes of Invincible were gonna come out, and now they're on the first day. There's 3 episodes, and so now I gotta push that a week.
Fine.
It'll be fun.
But also super excited for more big characters like Shang-Chi because I don't know who he is, but I am about some kung fu, man.
There is a great. I haven't read very much Shang-Chi, but there's a great, like, literally, I read 1 issue this year of Gene Luen Yang's Shang-Chi. He did like a 5-issue series. I would gladly read that because I think he's one of my favorite writers just right now. Everything I'm reading from him, and he's an Asian American writing about an Asian American. So
yeah, I'm kind of glad that like we might have got that, or I thought I was going to get that with Iron Fist.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I'm not getting the Iron Fist because that was whatever. I'm glad that they've got like an all Asian cast to like play like the kung fu, know, like not Iron Fist.
And Simu Liu like looks so freaking cool. Like
Yeah.
when I look at him, I'm like, you look so cool. There's so much potential with you, and like you see in his social media posts, like the pride that he has after working on that property, which is just that's what you want to see.
Totally.
So, anyways, all right, well, that's what we got for you today. Stick around because we are going to be going over all the Falcon and Winter Soldier stuff. We read Invincible. We are going to, for Falcon and Winter Soldier, we're going to be reading Cap Winter Soldier, and we're going to be reading the first volume of the Sam Wilson Captain America run.
I think also if there's any questions that anybody has and wants to like DM either one of us to like address on the show, because we're just like spitballing going over, and if people have like specific questions on our thoughts on
That's
stuff,
a great
like
idea.
DM some questions and we'll answer them.
Yeah, DM Cameron Reads Comics on Instagram, and if I get them before we record, especially for Falcon Winter Soldier, let me know. Also, you can email CameronReadsComics@gmail.com, and I'll gladly like put those together, and that could be really fun for speculation purposes,
Totally.
and whatever it be. So those are the best places to contact us. Remember to go follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram at Cameron Reads Comics. Like and subscribe, and make sure you clobber that like button. We love you. Thank you, Jesse, for being here. And that is that for us.
Adios.
Adios.